What if there was a way to easily understand and identify certain characteristics and personality traits in other people? What if it could help you to understand people better, fear people less, right? Those personality types who come on really strong, who just seem overly confident and who don't seem to have anything that could ever hurt them, ever. Or other personality types that we might be envious of, particularly as highly sensitives, right? The like high energy, the ones who are like overachievers, the ones who are workaholics, the ones who just like get it done no matter what, grind it out, and it's just unbelievable the level of like dedication and follow through that these people have. Well, what if I told you that there was a tool that types 9 different personality types that will help you, especially as a highly sensitive person, an HSP, to understand others and to also understand yourself more and to actually understand that these personality traits, some that are not so great, some that you might be like, oh, yeah, I kind of have that as a pattern. I kind of do this. What if I told you that there's a really good reason for it? And that these personality traits, these characteristics, actually are here to serve you. You have learned them, you have acquired them, you have this personality because they're here to help you, to protect you, to keep your sensitive soul safe. What if your personality developed a strategy to keep your sensitive heart safe? That is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Hi, I'm Christine Braun, your emotion coach, particularly for highly sensitive people, and the host of this podcast, Reclaim Your Power as a Highly Sensitive Person. I am so thrilled that you're here with me to explore a powerful tool that I have actually just gotten introduced to. So I am a newbie just like you, but I wanted to just give you an overview and a couple of insights that I've had as a highly sensitive working with this tool. Have you heard of the Enneagram and the 9 types that the Enneagram describes? And more specifically, what we'll be talking about today is how sensitivity presents itself throughout the Enneagram, the gifts that each of these types have, and the 9 types of the Enneagrams, their core wounds, and the healing paths that they can follow in order to integrate their whole beingness. So let's get started. In this podcast and YouTube channel, we are talking all about strategies, tools, healing those core wounds that we so often carry as highly sensitive people. Mostly because probably our caregivers in our childhood didn't know that we were highly sensitive and didn't know how to embrace us for our emotions, for our intensity, for our sensitivity, for our wild and crazy ways, and just for our difference. We'll be talking a lot about that today. What are some of these core wounds of the 9 types, but also of the highly sensitive person? So let's start out with type number 1 in the Enneagram. Oh wait, before we go there, let's quickly talk about the Enneagram, because maybe you've never heard of it and you're thinking, oh, it's just another one of these personality tests. I wasn't too thrilled with it either. I think I told you last week I started a brand new coaching certification, which I'm so thrilled about. This has been the best decision I've made. It is so worth it. It's been incredible. But when they were like, okay, today we're going to be talking, like the whole module is about the Enneagram. And I'm like, oh, I've heard about it before. I'm not too thrilled. And it turns out a lot of highly sensitive people are not too thrilled about any kind of personality testing, right? We don't want to be stuck in boxes. We like to freely express. We like to be different, Hopefully, because you've embraced it, right? We felt so different all of our lives, mostly because as an HSP, we're only 15 to 20% of the entire population. So, yes, we're going to feel different because you're probably going to have a lot of non HSPs around you. And every HSP kind of shows up differently, right? We have different sensitivities. Yours might be noise, the other one might be very intense smells, the next one might be, ooh, clothes are really itchy or confining. We all have different varying levels of sensitivity to different things. And it also depends on how we've so far set up our lives and how much stimulation we get throughout the day, right? So as I started studying the Enneagram, I had to take the test, right? And I was like, oh, it's not going to show anything. All personality type testing I've ever done has been all over the map. I'm a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of everything. I found it very interesting that one of the prompts for taking this test was don't answer from your current perspective, answer from like your high school level, or answer from before you started doing all this personal development work on yourself. And I was like, ooh, so this is going back to like, what have kind of been my natural patterns, right? Because this is exactly what the Enneagram is about. It reveals the protective strategies that we learned early on in our childhood, to protect ourselves. And this sentence I found was so beautiful, so I'm just going to read it to you so I won't mess it up. Overall, in this video, I'm probably going to be reading a whole lot more than I usually do because I made such detailed notes, and it's so much like this type is about that, this type is about that. I have not had the time to really deeply study all of them and commit them to memory. But I feel like this is so valuable. I really put together the things that I thought about each type, makes the most sense and gets you to understand it really easily as a highly sensitive. And man, it like every time I wrote down another type, I was like, oh, I know somebody like that. Oh, this totally made sense. So this will be super, super interesting. Your personality is the armor your sensitivity built to survive. Isn't that impactful? Your personality is the armor your sensitivity built to survive. That's how we can start to have a bit of empathy, even for those parts where we're like, ooh, because there are going to be some things like on the nose later where you're like, ooh, ouchie, kind of hurts to hear that about me. Or you might not even like acknowledge it. You're like, I thought I was this type, but that doesn't fit. Do some like deep introspection with it. It'll be worth it. And I will link, there are several free Enneagram tests online. I will definitely link one below. It does not take a whole long time, maybe like 5 minutes. It's really quick. And if you're part of Hay House, if you get their newsletter, wow, synchronous timing, I just got an email that talks about Robert Holden, who is a psychologist and coach who uses the Enneagram a lot in his work, and he's just coming out with a new book all about the Enneagram. And they have attached to that email another test that you can do. I'll see if I can find that link too. I don't know if you have to be signed up to their newsletter, but I'll find that link for you too, because that was a slightly different test with actual visual images like photographs that I found actually easier to take. But both of those tests came out very, very clear and the same for me. So I'd be curious if that's the case for you. And then a quick way to like wrap all this up is like, why is this so important, right? I've told you the biggest aha that I've gotten out of it is understanding the difficult personality types, the ones that are really brash, the ones that are really harsh, the ones that are really, it seems like nothing phases them. They're totally unemotional, right? For us super highly sensitive emotional beings, that can be a little challenging sometimes. Or the personality types that we envy, right? So this tool is incredible to understand kind of the full spectrum of like, yeah, they have these positive attributes, but they also have challenges, right? It's kind of nice to learn about their challenges, to know that they didn't just get all the good stuff, right? And of course, it'll help you as a highly sensitive person to understand yourself better, to understand patterns like withdrawing or people pleasing or perfectionism or anxiety or avoidance, right? And every type in the Enneagram has a hidden wound. And as a highly sensitive, you're going to be feeling these wounds deeply. So we might as well put them out in the open and you can understand, it's not just me, right? Often as HSPs, we feel so alone and isolated, like we're the only ones who are struggling with this on such a deep level. And seeing it kind of put together in a test like this, in a explanation of each type, you're like, whoa, wait a second. There are only 9 types, so there must be a lot of people of each type. So I am not the only one who is struggling with this. So let's get into it. Type number 1 is called the reformer or the perfectionist. They are responsible, fixated on improvement or to make better, right? Nothing is ever good enough. You already see the two sides, right? They're here to make things better, up level, but nothing is ever good enough, including themselves, right? They're usually very harsh critics of themselves and of other people. Do you know anybody like that? I know somebody, I don't want to put them on the spot, but I know somebody like that, and it's so hard for me to like listen to them degrade themselves, but then I'll also hear it when they degrade other people, right? Nothing is ever good enough. They have an eye for detail. They're aware of flaws in themselves and others. They strive to be good. They feel guilty about anger because they feel that anger is a bad, quote unquote, emotion, right? So they feel guilty when they're angry because they so deeply want to be good and they feel like anger is a bad emotion. They're highly principled, competent, and uncompromising. Uncompromising can be a good thing, right? Or it can be really challenging, particularly in relationships. What is their hidden wound? I must be perfect to be good. I must be perfect to be good, right? The perfectionist. And so often we can deeply feel that as a highly sensitive, right? We are perfectionists in our own right because oftentimes as kids we learned that the way that we are, intense, emotional, different than others, felt like it wasn't good enough because we probably got on our parents' nerves at some point in time, right? Gosh, I have a highly sensitive kid and I'm just like, whoa, dude, sometimes it just gets too much. But I'm aware of it. I know what to look for. I know how to regulate myself, right? So we kind of grew up with this wound of like, ooh, there's something wrong with me. I must try even harder to be loved. I must be perfect. I must get the perfect grades. I must be perfect in order to be loved. The core fear of the type 1s is being corrupt, evil, or defective. Something's wrong with me, deeply wrong with me, right? The protective pattern, strong inner critic, right? A lot of times that like propels them to do better. Hyper awareness of flaws, pressure to get it right. The healing path for these wonderful souls is learning self-compassion and allowing imperfection. I love how in kindergarten and first grade, they're doing these exercises of allowing imperfection by saying, who can draw the worst picture of a bunny? right? It's like then it's a game. Or I even remember a coach using this with a client to say, this client wanted to write for a long time, but she's like, oh, I can't get started. It's never good enough. I write it and then scratch it out. I write it and throw it away. It's just not as good as I want it to be. And this coach was like, okay, here's your challenge for this week. Every day, you must write for 20 minutes, but you must write the most awful, terrible stuff that you absolutely cannot use, right? It's a fun little exercise to do your worst. You're never asked to do your worst. And then the awakened gift of this type 1, the performer, the perfectionist, is that they are reliable, they are fair, they have integrity and wisdom, and they are capable of gentle leadership to improve the world. Can you imagine? Gosh, now more than ever, we need these souls in leadership positions. Type 2, the helper. Probably a lot of you can probably see yourself in this. Let me know. Type 2 is all about, I'm worthy if I'm helpful, right? I'm worth something if I can be helpful to somebody. Love is their highest ideal. Selflessness is their duty. Selflessness, that always like, oof, I wonder if that hits you in a way. I don't know if you ever went through the experience as a highly sensitive person being called selfish. I have, probably in my late teens, early 20s, probably early 20s when I started to do some deeper work and I was kind of stuck, and I asked family and friends of like, okay, what do you see that I don't see? What are my blocks? Where am I stuck? And a person who is pretty close to me in my circle said to me, I think you're the most selfish person I've ever come across. And that just like hit me like a dagger, like, what? Because so often as highly sensitives, we give and we give and we give and we give. We put everybody else before ourselves. And then finally we snap, right? We're like overstimulated, we're overwhelmed. We feel like it never comes back to us, which is part of this type 2 pattern, right? And then we remember, oh, I need to care for myself. Nobody else is doing this. I need to care for myself to kind of come back around. Also, I believe we might have a little bit of this selfish pattern in order to, or because we have such a deep inner world, and because we feel everything so deeply, a lot of times we feel a lot of pain or discomfort in our bodies, right? I dealt with a lot of like IBS and nausea and headaches. It's like, well, yes, I'm going to be focused a lot on myself if I am uncomfortable in my body, in my mind, in my emotions, trying to figure out how to feel better, how to feel normal, how to survive in this world. You gotta have to be like focused on yourself, right? Anyway, let's keep going. Type 2. A lot of times they're involved and socially aware. They're usually extroverted. They go the extra mile. They remember all the birthdays. Being needed makes them feel important. They can develop a feeling of entitlement. They can be intrusive and demanding, especially if their emotional needs go unmet, right? They do for everybody else, don't pay attention to themselves, and then feel neglected. They feel like, I do all this for everybody else. I don't get anything back. I don't even get a thank you usually, and nobody does that for me. So what is their hidden wound? Their hidden wound is love must be earned, right? I'm not worthy of love unless I do something for somebody else. They often learned that being needed was the safest way to get love in their childhood. Their core fear is being unwanted or unworthy of being loved by others. Their protective pattern is overgiving, emotional merging, which I'm sure you can identify with that as an HSP. They're so focused on outside, on like, what does he need? What does she need? What do they need? What does everybody else need? So they merge their emotions with the other, right? They're enmeshing in the other people's emotional field. Oh, she feels sad. I must comfort her. Oh, he's hungry. I must, give him food. Oh, this is what they need. Emotional meshing. Difficulty receiving support. Oof, I definitely went through a bout of that, right? How easy is it for you to receive support? Now, I'll give you that hint. Type 2 is not my biggest piece. We all have a little bit of each, right? But more strongly on some. And there's something called a wing, right? Kind of like that, oh, the next one down. This helper in type 2 is my wing, right? That's like the second one that I have a lot of. The healing path for type 2s is learning boundaries and self-love. Oh my gosh, stay tuned in this podcast on this YouTube channel. We will be talking a lot about boundaries. As highly sensitive people, we need to learn how to set boundaries. I promise it's not as hard as you think it is. I know it can be challenging, but there's so much other work that when you do that self-love work, that self-acceptance, the understanding of the depths of you, your soul, then it's not so hard anymore to set boundaries. The awakened gifts of type 2s: loving, warm, generous, unconditional, heart-centered compassion. That's beautiful. Number 3, the achiever. They need to be validated to feel worthy. They pursue success. They want to be admired. They're hardworking and competitive, often extroverted. They're self-confident. They're practical. They're driven. Those are the kind of people who I'm just like so envious of, right? Especially as I'm an entrepreneur and I'm watching other people who just like seem to succeed so easily, or just like have the grit to keep going, right? Initially, like every bad comment just like hit me so hard. I'm like, oh, do I really want to be out here doing this? Until I did this like work on myself to where it's like, I'm serving, right? Oh, yes. I'm coming from a place where I know that this is not about me. This is about whom I can help, right? The hidden wound of the type 3. My value comes from what I accomplish, right? It's like I'm only worthy for the things that I do. It's not ever about who I am. It's just what I do. Can I perform? Can I do this? And then I'll be worthy. Their core fear is being worthless. In childhood, they may have felt that their feelings were worth less than the accomplishments that they were able to achieve. Their protective pattern, identity built around success. If I'm successful, this is who I am, right? Hiding vulnerability. That's why a lot of times we're like, man, they're impervious. They're overworking, right? Their healing path, reconnecting with authentic identity beyond achievement. That authentic identity is something we can all learn so much from. We can all benefit so much from. So at the core of what I do with all of my coaching clients, because as highly sensitive beings, we often have lost our way. We have often built so many walls and built so many protective layers around who we truly are that we forgot who we are, or we think that who we are is not lovable because we are so sensitive and intense and emotional. The awakened gifts, right? When you're awakened to your gifts as a type 3, they inspire others to believe in their potential. So beautiful. They're responsible, they're practical, they're optimistic. Type 4. A lot of HSPs are type 4 and might know somebody who is that. The individualists tend to build their identity around their perception of themselves as being different or unique. Remember, as said, highly sensitives, we are only 15 to 20% of the entire population, so we are different. So a lot of us kind of identify with this type 4, and I love that the description of type 4 even mentions they're sensitive. The type 4s see their difference as a gift and a curse, right? As a gift because it's, that way we don't have to be boring. We don't have to be typical or normal or common. And we also see it as a curse because that makes us different, because it separates us from others. It makes us feel a little bit more alone, sometimes a little strange. And they kind of have this deep need for being understood, right? Probably because we feel so different. We're like, if somebody gets me, if somebody understands me, then who I am isn't so wrong, right? The protective pattern of 4s, emotional intensity, it does shield us, longing for meaning, feeling different from others. The core fear of the type 4, that they have no identity or personal significance. I had to laugh when I saw that, right? I'm a total type 4. It came back like very clear, type 4. And I had to laugh because the last, 6 months, more so, mostly the last 3 months, living together with my boyfriend, so many times, the times when we kind of get into a little bit of a disagreement where my feelings get hurt, it comes down to this: I don't feel significant. I feel like you put other people before me. And I had to laugh when I saw that. I was like, our core fear is that I have no identity or personal significance. So that's beautiful, right? Knowing this, knowing that, oh, wow, this is a big thing. Now I'm not going to just like push it away like, oh, I know I'm significant. Okay, you show me that I'm significant. I'm going to go deeper into this. I'm going to investigate. I'm going to journal about this. I'm going to ask my spirit guides about this. Like, what is this? This like feeling for needing to be significant, right? Our healing path for type 4s, learning self-acceptance and belonging, right? Where do I belong? Oh, another deep, deep feeling. And yes, gosh, self-acceptance. The core of what I love to teach highly sensitive people, because when we can understand it, we can embrace our sensitivity and accept our sensitivity, then we understand and see the gifts that it gives us. Now, the awakened gifts of the type 4 are profound emotional depth, creativity, and authenticity. We're expressive, creative, warm, deep, and sensitive. Type 5, the investigator. They fear they don't have enough strength to face life, so they withdraw a lot. They're generally intelligent, well-read, thoughtful, and they become experts in their fields. They're often uncomfortable with their emotions and demands of a relationship. They're shy, they're non-intrusive, independent, sensitive. Their hidden wound: the world will overwhelm me. They often felt intruded upon or energetically drained early in life. Now, a lot of highly sensitive people also identify with this trait, right? We like to go deep. We like to investigate. We like to learn about things. And we have this, a lot of times we don't have our boundaries up very well around our energetic field, so we can feel intruded upon. The core fear of the type 5 is being useless, helpless, or incapable. Yeah, I get that. I definitely understand that. Their protective patterns: withdrawal, observing instead of participating, protecting energy intensely. Ooh, yeah. Their healing path: trusting that engagement with life is safe. Working on that deep feeling of safety is so incredible. Their awakened gifts: deep wisdom, insight, and perspective. They're focused and they're curious. Beautiful people. Number 6, the loyalist. They feel insecure, as though there is nothing quite steady enough to hold on to. They easily go into fear and anxiety. That's kind of at their core. There's a lot of worrying, restless images of everything that might go wrong, which gifts them with really great ability to troubleshoot, right? If you're constantly thinking about everything that could go wrong, good troubleshooting. Now, I have noticed some of that spiking up with having a kiddo. So maybe some overlay here of being a highly sensitive, hyper vigilant, right, in order to keep this little one safe. But I found it very interesting that these type 6, the loyalist, that's kind of at their deep, at their core, that they have these images, right? And right as I'm talking, I was like, ooh, maybe that's what's going on with my friend who is just super anxious and has all these crazy images and pictures in his head. I'm going to investigate a little bit more and maybe talk to him about it. They're usually not spontaneous. They don't trust easily. They're very loyal, but they can be loyal to a fault, right? Holding on to something or someone long after it's good for them. Their hidden wound is I'm not safe. They tend to have a high nervous system vigilance. And their core fear is being without support and guidance, which, gosh, we can do some beautiful work around feeling deeply guided. That's one of my daily affirmations is I am guided in every moment. And once you establish the deep feeling with that of I am truly guided in every moment, beautiful. Their protective patterns are overthinking, scanning for danger, and doubting themselves. Their healing path is cultivating inner trust and courage. That is some of the most rewarding work. Also incredibly powerful for highly sensitives in general, but especially for type 6s in the Enneagram, right? Is doing the work around courage to become a lion or a lioness, to become courageous. Is incredible, that work. Their awakened gifts are they're extraordinarily loyal. They're prepared and they have great courage. They're trustworthy. They're responsible. They're supportive. They're dependable. Right? And isn't it amazing to have a friend who you can deeply depend on? Feels so good. I hope you're starting to see a bit of a pattern of oh yeah, they do all have their challenges, but they have kind of this it's laid out, their core wound, what they can work on, the healing path, and then their gifts to remind them there's a beautiful end to all of these, right? Let's keep going. Type 7, the enthusiast. Oh my gosh, I'm always so envious of people like that. And I kind of have a feeling that the high sensation seeking, highly sensitive people are a lot of times the enthusiasts. Let's see what you think. Their life is an exciting adventure. They're future-oriented, they're restless, they're quick thinkers, lots of energy, they make lots of plans. They tend to be extroverted, multi-talented, creative, and open-minded. They don't believe in self-denial and don't feel ashamed for doing all the pleasurable things in their life, right? Wow. I'm so envious of their adventurous nature, and I'm so envious of their like energy and just like spontaneity and just going for it, right? But they also have a hidden wound, which is pain will trap me, right? Like being deprived, not being able to go on vacation or to do this thing they really want to do, or being in pain, right? Like when they have to go through like a surgery and they have to be still for 6 weeks. Oh my gosh, it's like the hardest thing for them to do. Sensitive sevens often develop optimism as protection from emotional pain. So when you know some people who are just like overly optimistic, maybe that is to help them protect them from emotional pain, right? They don't like being sidelined with anything. Their protective patterns are avoiding difficult feelings, right? They're on the go. They're just going to keep going. Oh, I'm just going to glance over that. I'm not stopping for this. Seeking stimulation, always looking for the next exciting thing. The healing path for sevens is learning to stay present with all emotions. Oh, I love emotion work. That's why I am the emotion coach, because oh my gosh, emotions are so rich. And I started on this like journey listening to Abraham Hicks by Esther Hicks, right? And they're all about happiness and good emotions, and you want to keep your frequency high, and all that matters is that you feel good in the moment. And that is an amazing strategy to start out with, to really get you hooked on feeling good, to really get you in that frequency of feeling good. Because when you're flying high, you have a completely different perspective and you have access to a whole different level. But once you are stable up there and know how to get yourself back there, which, by the way, I have an awesome gift for you. If you have not downloaded your guide of 3 easy steps to shift out of any emotion that you would like to, download my free guide on how to do that, right? Like how you can purposely shift your emotion, shift out of anger, shift out of guilt, shift out of anxiety, shift out of depression. There are easy ways of doing that. You just need to practice a little bit. Download it. I'll put the link below. It's on my website, healingyouremotions.com/shift. Yes, that's what we were talking about. Their healing path is learning to stay present with all emotions. Once you have learned how to get yourself back up from anything, it is worth diving into these deeper emotions, right? Because for a while, I loved my highs, right? Especially as a highly sensitive person. When we are in love, we are super in love. When we are passionate, nothing can stop us. When we are in creativity, in flow, we have so much passion, so much fire. I love these highs. I would never give them up. But we also have low lows, right? When we're angry, we are passionately angry and everybody's going to know it. If we are down, if we're melancholic, if we're sad, if we're depressed, if we are feeling guilty, if we're feeling anxious, right? Like the lower bottom of that wave of emotions, it can get really scary because we are so intensely in it. We feel like it'll never stop. It'll never leave us. Is this who I'm going to be? I'm never going to be happy again. Psst, you're going to be happy again. You're going to shift out of it again. But to show yourself that and to get that confidence and to understand how you can really direct your own emotions, that work is so worth it. And then you'll get to this point where you no longer fear any emotion, because you'll deeply fear within you that it's only temporary, and even better, it is here to show you, to give you an incredibly important message. It is here to serve you. Wow. The awakened gifts of the type 7s. Radiant joy. We can all use more of that. Radiant joy. Surround yourself with some 7s. They're amazing. Creativity, visionary thinking, spontaneous, lighthearted, adventurous. Wow. What an awesome type. Oh, I need more 7s in my life. Number 8, the challenger. Unwilling to be controlled by others or circumstances. Now, this was the type, as I was writing down these things, that's why it got a little longer on this one, because I really had a person in mind who I'm like almost a little bit afraid of, because he can just seem so dark at times. He's open and light sometimes with me, but more times than not, he's so closed off, so hard to read. Even for me, as a very in tune being, he's sometimes hard to read, and just so brash and rude sometimes, and just too abrasive. So it was very insightful for me to understand what's underneath that behavior. So let's go into it. They're unwilling to be controlled by others or circumstances, which then sometimes makes them domineering, right? I'd rather control than being controlled. They're strong-willed, they're decisive, they're practical, they're tough-minded, they're energetic. They have powerful instincts and strong physical appetites, which they are ruthless with. They want a lot out of life and feel fully prepared to go out and get it. Now that I am super envious of. They have a hard time lowering defenses in intimate relationships. Intimacy involves emotional vulnerability, and such vulnerability is one of the 8's deepest fears. Betrayal of any sort is absolutely intolerable. So these are the people who are just like, they become, can you imagine when you cross an 8 that way? Ooh. They are very protective of their friends and family. Are you ready? Are you ready to understand what their hidden wound is? It is, the world is harsh. Only the strong survive. That is the lens that they see life through. So maybe that helps you a little bit to understand why they act the way they do, why they go about life the way they do, right? They feel the world is harsh and only the strong survive. Did you ever see the movie 300 and how the little boys, I don't know how old, maybe 9, 10, who knows? They send them out all alone to survive on their own, because that is going to make them tough. That's going to make them strong. And that's why they have created an undeniably strong army, right? Of these kind of people. And that made me think of it. Like reading this type 8, I was like, ooh, I get it. That's one way to go about it. But man, if that other person, that kiddo is not a type 8, that's going to be really hard. 8s have often experienced early betrayal or injustice, right? And that's why they have decided the world isn't a safe place, right? It's a harsh place, and I'm going to have to get a lot tougher and a lot smarter in order to survive. Their protective patterns are emotional armor, right? They're cold, they're aloof, intensity and control, and protecting vulnerability at all cost. The healing path for 8s. Their healing path for 8s, right? Because it is so hard for us highly sensitives, for us gentle souls, to be vulnerable when we see somebody who's so harsh. We feel like they're just going to squash us like a little bug. And obviously, always listen to your deepest intuition. You know how to approach it, but it is wonderful to know that their healing path is allowing softness and trust. So if this is a dear, dear person to you, right? Like your dad or like a very good friend or even your significant other, right? If this is somebody who you really want to be close with and you at least trust enough that they won't deeply hurt you when you're open and soft and vulnerable with them, if you can manage to do that, I feel like they could potentially mirror you in that and allow that softness and trust. It'll take some time, but it'll be incredibly healing for them. Their awakened gifts are powerful protection. You're going to feel incredibly protected by this person. Truth telling, which is great for highly sensitive people. We love when the truth is out there. And justice. So they are just people, which is great. Here we go. Last one. Type number 9, the peacemaker. They feel a need for peace and harmony and also peace of mind, right? That inner stability. They tend to avoid conflict at all costs, internal and external, which is interesting because not always, a lot of times you hear that about highly sensitive people, that we avoid conflict, probably because it upsets so much that we're like, oh, we're going to feel all that intense emotion, not just within us, but also with the other person or people around. So let's just avoid conflict. Let's just make peace. I mean, I can see it as, when you're like caught in the middle, like when your two sisters are not speaking with each other, or when it's something between your mom and your sister, when you're the middle one, you're just like, oh, I feel her emotion, I feel her emotion, I feel my emotion. Can't we just all get along, right? They often withdraw if there is conflict going on. Many are introverted. They're fairly easygoing. Right? We as HSPs love to do that, to not be difficult, right? Just easygoing. They go with the flow, generally reliable, sturdy, tolerant, and likable, optimistic, and they see the best in others, which is a great quality. The hidden wound of the type 9, my presence doesn't matter. They often learned to minimize themselves to maintain peace. Now that also spoke to what I experienced as a highly sensitive person growing up, right? Wanting to minimize my presence. And for me, it was because I grew up in a large family, right? After my parents divorced, my dad remarried, my stepmom had 2 kids. They had another kid together, and my dad had 2 kids, or three of us girls. So all together on the weekend, we were 6 kids. And you can imagine, I only have 1 kid. Now with my wonderful 2 kiddos of my boyfriend, there are 3 kiddos in the house. And it gets incredibly busy. So I can't imagine to have 6 kids around. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of tumultuousness going on. There's a lot of conflict here and there going on. So I definitely remember just wanting to not cause any trouble because there was already so much going on. I'm sure on a level I felt, man, my dad is just like struggling with this. He needs some help. Let me minimize myself, become as independent as I can, take care of me, take care of myself, not cause any issues in order to help. Let me know if you had anything similar like that in your childhood or in your current life that you're feeling. The core fear of a type 9 is loss and separation. Loss and separation, right? That I'm separate, that I'm no longer belonging, that I'm losing what I already have. The protective patterns of type 9s, avoiding conflict, numbing out, going along with others, right? Just be easygoing, go along with others. the healing path of nines, reclaiming their voice and personal power. I matter. I can contribute positively, right? I matter. I matter. I know sometimes when I get overstimulated and I am driving in traffic, and it seems as though there are certain drivers who are like cutting me off, just very close, trying to like get in front of me, who are just not being courteous drivers. And sometimes I'm screaming, I'm going, don't you see me? Am I invisible? Do I not have presence on this road? Do you wish that I wasn't here so you could just have the road all to yourself? That is the moment where I can really identify with these type nines and that core wound of like, yeah, I matter. I have a right to be here just as much as you do, and I can contribute positively, right? I can contribute. I matter. The awakened gift of nines, they're non-judgmental, deep peace, acceptance, and unity building. They're patient and empathetic. Beautiful, beautiful gifts. Well, what do you think? Did you take some notes? Were you, at least mental notes, were you thinking of a couple of people like, oh, I think my sister is that, or my coworker is that, or oh, I'm pretty sure my boyfriend is this, or, the person who you've been really challenged by, you were like, oh, that's why they act the way they act. That's why I find this Enneagram tool so powerful. Like I said in the beginning of this video, it's like, wow, it gives me insight what people have kind of layered around themselves as these protective mechanisms, right? These like personality traits, these habits, these things that they do that shield them from their core wound, right? It shields them for like, ooh, okay, this is something I'm working on. Let me build this protective layer around me, this cocoon, so I can work with that core wound, right? And for that, I just wanted to repeat this beautiful sentence. What if your personality developed a strategy to protect your sensitive heart? What if your personality developed a strategy to protect your sensitive heart? Because once you understand what type you are, or what pieces of what type you are, what your protective strategies are, and what you're trying to protect, what is that gentle core that you're trying to protect? And once you do work around that, wow, there's so much more freedom and happiness to be gained. All right, I want to leave you with just one more quick thing. I mentioned that Robert Holden is going to do a talk like this week. I want to say it's Thursday. I'll add the link. I'm so excited to be on there and listen to what he has to share about his newest book. But what he really goes in and believes about the Enneagram is that each type represents a distortion of a deeper spiritual gift. So to sum it all up, he sees ones as integrity, twos as love, threes as authentic value, fours, beauty, fives, wisdom, six, faith, seven, joy, eights as truth and power, and nines as peace. He says when a type is operating unconsciously, it acts from fear. But when it awakens, its core gift becomes a service to others. We all have such amazing gifts to give, and that is really at the core of the work that I love to share with you. So thank you for being here, for caring, for watching these, for learning, for journaling about it and going deeper into it. always feel free to ask me questions. But this is really at the heart of the work that I love doing, is just to reunite you, especially if you're a highly sensitive soul, but even if you're not, right? I want to reunite you with your own truth, your own deepest desires, your own wholesome, your soul, right? Like who you are before putting on all these layers. But it is so valuable to work through these protective layers to understand, what am I working on in this life? Why am I doing it the way that I'm doing it? What can I learn about myself? And is this really the truth of who I am? And what do I want more of in my life? Because this gives us kind of the roadmap to it, to anything that you desire. So I am super excited to have this new tool in my tool belt, and I'm going to keep exploring with it. And let me know. Leave me a comment below to let me know, was this helpful? Have you taken the test? Are you excited about this? And I am so excited that you're here and that you're doing this work and that you are on the road to truly embracing the incredible person that you are. Love you so much, and I'll see you here next week.